Hey, Pretty Girl Club. You got the same black man is a male centered talking point. And because I talk a lot about decentering men on this channel, I want to psychoanalyze and break down what people actually mean when they use this talking point. The first thing is whenever somebody says you got the same black man, I can 100% guarantee you that it's a black woman saying that. And then number two, the same black man as who? Oh, as dark-skinned black women. So that's actually an internalized colorist talking point because you're saying that if a woman who, like Danny Lay, gets with a dark-skinned black man and gets abused, you're telling her that this is the type of black man that unambiguous black women attract. So not only is that internalized colorism, but it's also a male-centered talking point because another thing that I've noticed is whenever people talk about things like colorism or privilege, usually it revolves around the male gaze because another thing people will say is, your light skin privilege didn't save you from getting your ass beat, or your pretty privilege didn't save you, or they'll say things like, oh, I'm so glad that I don't look like Cassie because I didn't get abused like how Cassie did. And by the way, someone actually implied that on her YouTube channel. It was YouTuber Ostefco when she was doing an analysis of the Cassie situation. But if you were to say, I'm so glad I'm not ugly, or I'm so glad that I'm desirable, if you were to say something like that, people would call you racist, colorist, texturist, featurist, and anti-black. But this whole concept of you got the same black man, what they're really saying is you got the same dusty black man that black women attract. So you're actually dissing black women because you're saying that black women attract black male dusties. You're saying that unambiguous black women attract the scum of the earth, and then you're utilizing blackness and you're utilizing the black woman's experience with abuse and black femicide. Oh yeah, remember how Chrissy tried to say that I laugh at black femicide? You got the same black man is actually a form of laughing at black femicide because what you're doing is you're saying that, hey, a lot of black women get treated like Danny Lay. They get put out or they may get unalived or they may get their asses beat, and you got the same black man that black women get. You got the same abuse that dark-skinned black women get. You get treated like shit just like how dark-skinned black women do. So do you see the internalized colorism in that talking point right there? Another thing that I've noticed is that whenever a woman wants to humble a woman that she perceives as more privileged than her, the only way she can do it is with male-centered talking points. So for example, they'll say, you got the same black man, or they will say, you're with a dusty, you're with a 50-50 man. So all of these comments where women are putting down other women based on the type of man they're with, that tells me that you value women based on how they are treated by men. It tells me that women who are put on a pedestal, quote unquote, that it's all based on how they're treated by men. And by the way, another way that I can prove this is because whenever you start talking about colorism and you ask a woman, hey, name some examples of colorism after the age of 18 years old. So name some examples of colorism in your own life. Actually, you know what? I won't even say as an adult. You can name whatever examples you want. Normally, the types of examples they will name is, oh, the light-skinned girl got asked to prom, or the mixed girl, she got more popularity. Ice Spice, she gets praised for her beauty. Tyla gets praised for her beauty. That is not colorism. Let's look up the definition of the word colorism. I can refute your talking point using whatever definition you would like, whether it's Alice Walker's definition or the Webster's dictionary definition. Colorism is when you are directly saying something negative or you're directly putting down a particular skin tone, or you're directly saying something like, oh, dark-skinned black women, they have bad attitudes or they're masculine. That would be more of a solid example. But simply complimenting someone who happens to not be dark-skinned, that is not colorism based on the definition right here. And also, let's talk about pedestals, because whenever I see people online using that word pedestal, they can never describe what a pedestal is. And so that's why I've got an entire series on here actually describing what a pedestal is, how to build your own, and how to receive multiple sources of micro-validation. Because a pedestal is really just validation. Pedestal means that you are being treated with kindness or treated with respect. So whenever somebody says you got the same black man, what they're saying is you did not get the pedestal. You didn't get treated with kindness and respect. You didn't get treated as feminine. That's another talking point. I've noticed that women will try to humble the women that they perceive as more privileged by coming for their femininity. They'll say, you got the same black man as us unambiguous black women. So it's actually a diss towards yourself. It's a diss towards unambiguous black women. And that comment itself is actually reeking with internalized colorism and internalized anti-blackness, because saying you got the same black man as who? As black women? Okay, well, what types of black men do black women attract? So do you see how you're actually dissing yourself? You got the same dusty black man that I attract. Sis, that didn't eat like you thought it would. And I've noticed that the people who try to hide behind social justice and say things like, oh, I don't support colorism, texturism, featureism, or black femicide, those same women will use colorism, texturism, featureism, and black femicide and say comments like, you got the same black man. And then they're talking about a man who's abusive. And the same, when they use that word, it's the same black man. What they mean is you got the same black man as black women. So you're literally saying right there that black women attract dusties and bums and abusers like DaBaby, or they attract Diddy. So once again, that is still a form of internalized anti-blackness. So do you see how a lot of anti-blackness is actually utilized within the black community, or is utilized against people who are mixed black women, or maybe they're a light-skinned black woman or something like that? Maybe they're a dark-skinned woman who has different features. And by the way, when it comes to the conversation about isms, I've noticed that there is this selective outrage because people want to talk about colorism, texturism, and featureism, but then they want to ignore things like capitalism or classism or straight up racism. Not only that, but the same black women who talk about colorism, they want to find a solution to colorism by dating the creators of colorism, texturism, featureism, and racism, and that is white men. So how is it that dating in the white community solves colorism? Oh, and that's another talking point, actually. Whenever I observe these YouTube videos of women talking about colorism and how they overcame it, because I've seen some videos of black women, talking about how they overcame colorism. What they will say is, oh, as I got older and, my body filled out and I learned how to do my hair and makeup, then I was able to overcome my internalized colorism because I was viewed as more desirable. Okay, so you just proved my point right there, that the majority of this conversation is really about desirability to white men. It's about desirability to black men. In fact, I've even had content creators such as Chrissy try to imply that this space exists because we are mad that black women are quote unquote leveling up and dating non-black men. So the fact that you said that a non-black community is a level up from the black community, that is internalized anti-blackness right there. So that tells me that you actually pedestalize non-blackness because you called it a level up. What you're saying is if you move to a white neighborhood, that's a level up. If you date a white man, that's a level up. If you get the white male gaze, that's a level up. If you are promoted by white Hollywood, that is corrective promotion because, it's a level up that the white man is promoting you and that white people are desiring you. Oh, that's a level up. Oh, the black wife effect, you leveled up your white man by taking him from looking like Where's Waldo to getting him to try to look like Chris Evans. That's a level up. To be as far away from blackness as possible. And by the way, an example of leveling down would be like Cassie. You know why? Because she gets the same black man as black women. So you're basically implying that black women inherently attract abuse and mistreatment, and you are also inherently implying, because remember, words have meaning. So if you use leveling up, and you use that interchangeably with being in the non-black communities or dating in non-black communities, okay, so you just exposed your own internalized anti-blackness because you're associating non-blackness with being leveled up and you're associating blackness with attracting abuse or being at the bottom. I mean, that's another talking point. Well, you're down here at the bottom with me, basically. Or they'll say, you're still black, as if being black is like bad or negative. Another term that will expose internalized anti-blackness is using terminology like safe brown. They're saying, you're safe brown. What they really mean is you don't experience isms. Your skin is still light enough for you to be able to bypass being treated disrespectfully because of your darker skin tone. If your skin tone reaches a certain level of darkness, that makes you unsafe. So my question for the people who utilize that terminology, safe brown, please describe to me what color is unsafe? What skin color is unsafe brown? I would love for you to pull up pictures of skin tones that you describe as dangerous or unsafe. I would love to see anybody from the black community pull up pictures of what they describe as being unsafe. And for the people who use the "you got the same black man" talking point, I would love to see you tell me, they got the same black man as who? As black women? And what type of men do black women attract? Another anti-black talking point is her light skin couldn't save her. Her baby hairs couldn't save her. Her XYZ ambiguous feature couldn't save her. Okay, well, anytime you're saying that, what you're implying, once again, is that if you have anything that is in proximity to non-blackness, that it will save you, such as being quote-unquote safe brown. What you're saying is that that person has enough proximity away from dark-skinned blackness in order to be perceived as safe. By who? Oh, that's right, by white people. So do you see how a lot of the insults and a lot of the terminologies used in black online spaces are actually perpetuating this notion that dark-skinned black women are somehow at the bottom? And have you also noticed how a lot of them are now leaving the colorism conversation because they cannot refute any of the talking points on this channel? I see lots of people saying, oh, well, Exoticals United, she is a vile, horrible, disgusting person, and she's just a colorist, texturist, and featurist. Play the timestamps, play the audio clips, play the videos. Because last time I checked, the biggest colorist, texturist, and featurist that I've ever come across are women who imply that black women only attract abusers like DaBaby and Diddy. And then they literally utilize blackness and black womanhood. They use black womanhood as an insult in order to humble a woman like Cassie and say, you got the same dusty, abusive ass black man that us black women attract. Ha ha, that's what you get. You got abused just like me, is what they're saying. You're at the bottom just like me. So who's the real colorist? Who's the real texturist and featurist? Because I'm never going to be silent about this. It's very easy to refute a lot of these ism talking points. And the only reason that a lot of content creators have been able to run with this is because a lot of light-skinned black women have been silenced, a lot of mixed-race black women have been silenced, a lot of dark-skinned black women who do not experience colorism, texturism, and featurism have been silenced. And so no one's going to be able to bully us off of YouTube anymore. And I truly do believe that a lot of the ism conversation is, number one, fake outrage, but number two, it's used as a social climbing tactic, and by the way, it's a bad social climbing tactic. This channel has dozens of videos about how to properly social climb or how to use social climbing tactics so that you can, kind of avoid internalized colorism, texturism, and featurism. And also another thing about the ism conversation. Have you ever noticed that a lot of the main content creators that have talked about isms never offer any actual solutions to colorism, texturism, and featurism? All they do is simply highlight how bad it is, or they highlight how common it is. If you look at content creators like Barbie Life 2.0, you will see her in a highlighted blonde and brown wig, bragging and dancing and twerking in her seat, talking about how she looks like Beyonce, and then she will go on to talk about how much everybody hates dark-skinned black women. And then she will go on in that video to highlight the quote-unquote colorism that dark-skinned black women are going through, and offers no solutions on how dark-skinned black women can actually overcome colorism. Because the thing about isms, and no matter what the ism is, colorism, texturism, featurism, racism, classism, capitalism, no matter what the ism is, unfortunately, we do not live in a utopian society. So isms are not going anywhere. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't care about them, but what I am saying is that the main people complaining about things like colorism, texturism, and featurism are simultaneously benefiting from capitalism. And another thing that I saw some people talking about is how when it came to the colorism conversation, a lot of the people who were leading that conversation were women who were not African American. So maybe they were from the Caribbean or from somewhere else. And that's actually a very good point. And it's very interesting because those people who were talking about isms, they themselves are greatly benefiting from capitalism and classism, because in order to immigrate to the United States and, become successful here and stuff like that, obviously you have already benefited from capitalism greatly. I mean, especially if you think about people from like the Nigerian community, how successful a lot of Nigerian people can become in the United States. So you are greatly benefiting from things like classism and capitalism, but then want to talk about how colorism and texturism and featurism are so bad. So once again, this is just yet another social climbing tactic. So do not fall for the foolery. So take this as a cautionary tale. Always examine the types of insults that you see these women using against you, because usually the insult will be very male-centered. The insult will be very white identified. You know how I talk about decentering men? This channel also decenters whiteness. And so I've noticed that a lot of people in the Black community are very white centered, very white male centered. Oh, well, the white man prefers me more because I have dark skin and type 4 hair. So white men like me better. Do you see how male centered the comebacks are? Like, seriously, think about it. Do you see how male-centered the comebacks are? Well, white men like it better if you have a chocolate skin tone and fuller features and stuff like that because, it's more of a difference. We are exotic. We're more exotic than mixed race women to white men. And it's funny because this channel, with the phrase exotical, not only was that actually a male-centered insult that was used against women like myself or women who follow this channel, that was used as a male-centered insult. So now that we've taken back that insult and we kind of wear it on our sleeve, I talk about transmutation on here and making fun of yourself and being able to laugh at yourself and be like, haha, yeah, I guess I am an exotical, that's fine. So I talk about that, and I've noticed that ever since we have taken back that insult, now that insult holds social status. So now we've got unambiguous women who are arguing and they want to take back that phrase exotical. They're like, no, we're actually the exoticals. We're more exotic to white men than mixed race women. Meanwhile, this channel, Exoticals United, was never created so that we could argue about who's more desirable to white men. In fact, not only do I have a 25-part decentering men series on this channel, but this channel also decenters whiteness, so much so to the point where even I have had biracial, 50-50 black-white biracials trying to come against me saying that, oh, she's not friendly enough towards people who are biracial, just because this channel decenters whiteness. But this whole talking point of you got the same black man as who? And what type of black men have you attracted? Oh, okay, so you're saying that because you believe that black women only attract bad black men. And by the way, that in and of itself is extremely colorist, texturist, featurist, and racist, because you're actually implying that billions of black women all around the world, that they attract men like Diddy, or they attract men like DaBaby. And then you're actually stereotyping unambiguous black women so much so to the point where you've created an entire insult based on that, saying that any woman who is now abused, that she's getting treated like a black woman. So you're making being a dark-skinned, unambiguous black woman synonymous with abuse. And then by using terms like so-and-so is safe brown, you're actually making darker skin synonymous with being unsafe and with being dangerous and with being threatening or with being masculine or whatever. And that's another thing. By insulting light-skinned women, by coming for their femininity, you are revealing that you internally associate light-skinned women with being more feminine. Because that's why you're trying to use lack of femininity as a humbling tactic. By saying things like, oh, well, nobody views you as feminine anyway. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Why are you expecting people to view her as feminine in the first place? Anyway, what do you ladies think? Let me know in the comment section, and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.